Okay, so I am at the Kitchewan Trail, I think is what it's called. I am with the G7X Mark II. It's not actually mine, I borrowed it from my sister. I've never shot with it before. Well, I've shot a few photos, but not an actual photo walk. So yeah, what I'm gonna do now is just give you some first impressions, take some photos, see what I can, you know, make up, I guess. The only thing I know about this camera is that it is the equivalent to the Sony ZV-1, technically the equivalent. There are differences though. This has a much wider range in terms of focal length, 24 to 100. It is a fast lens too, widest aperture of f2.8 at the longest end. It's got a tilting LCD screen, which I think is better, and a bunch of tactile controls compared to the ZV-1. But yeah, practically all I know about this camera. So let's take it for a spin. Right away, as soon as I stop talking, something interests me. So this tree, it's got a bunch of carvings in it, a bunch of names. There's Tim, there's Matt, there's Hank, PP. I think it's interesting. Photo of it. So one thing I can tell you about this camera, and maybe it's just a subjective matter, but I think the menu system here looks a little bit more pleasing. I think certain things are easier to find, and mind you, I have been a Sony shooter for like 3 years probably. I own the A6000, ZV-E10, and the ZV-1, so I should be used to their menu system. But I don't know. I think this one's easier. This looks, I don't know how I can take a photo of it, but it's eye pleasing. There's a bunch of yellows, a bunch of greens, but not too much yellow that it overpowers the greens. So I really, honestly don't know how I'm taking a photo of this. Okay, so not landscape mode because there's too much going on. Probably gonna do portrait mode like this. Have my focus point there in the middle. Here's something else I like about this camera. It is light as a feather. And in trails like this where I'm going uphill, that definitely helps. Whew, as you can see, I'm out of breath. I am actually taking other camera equipment with me. I have my EM1 Mark II, just in case, you know. But if I were to hike these trails using only this camera, I'd be more comfortable than I am now. So I think this is a good scene. So everything to the perimeter is all just early signs of fall. Green and yellow. And then you can clearly see the walkway from here. So I'm taking this image. One thing I wish though was that there was more trees to the left, because I'm getting a little bit more light than I want to, but pretty good. Oh, but also one thing I noticed about this camera is that you can use this ring right here to control the aperture. I'm pretty sure you can customize this, but for me right now I have it on aperture. I have it to control my aperture, I'm sorry. So I'm choosing f4. I'm choosing my focus point to be right there, somewhere in the middle. Man, will you look at that view. So I like that there's is it even a fence? I don't know. It's a fence. I'll just call it a fence right there. And behind it is just a lot of bushes and a lot of trees and the blue sky and some red leaves. I like it. I like the view. So taking a photo of it again. And another thing I'm starting to like about this camera, it's fast. Like I'm not getting any signs of lag or something. I like it. So I'm still at f4. sunny days like this though, I find that these LCDs, so this isn't just isolated to the Canon G7X Mark II. I have this problem with other cameras that do not have viewfinders. On days like this, it's kind of hard to tell what's on the LCD screen. It's not bright enough. It's not like our phones where, you know, you got a bunch of lights. So that's a compromise when you're taking small cameras like this. So I want to try the focal range of this camera. I'm gonna try to shoot that dead thing right there at maximum zoom. This is what it looks like. Let's talk about the other end of the spectrum. Let's test it out. The close focusing of this camera. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if it's ooh, it's too close. So it's harder to focus this compared to the ZV-1. I'm not getting any focus on that berry. I'll try a different subject, something maybe easier to focus on. I just thought of something else that I like about this camera. The grip. So the rubber grip here is just grippy compared to the Sony ZV-1, where it's almost just slippery. So plus points for the Canon G7X. Okay, noticed something else on the Canon G7X. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but now that I really think about it, it's very tactile. Like, look at the buttons. So I have a control dial here for the exposure. Right now I'm at negative 0.3, I believe. Yeah, negative 0.3. And then above it is another dial to control what modes you're going to be in. So manual mode, aperture priority, shutter priority, program, movie, you know. And there's a bunch of buttons here too. They are a little bit close together, so if you have fat fingers, you probably will not like it, like that part of the Canon G7X. But I have regular size fingers, maybe even tiny, so this doesn't bother me at all. And really, I like it. And everything is also just on the right hand side, so it's totally one-handable if I feel like it. That's awesome. There's a dead tree, and right at the tip is a large hole. I don't know what caused it, but from this angle it looks so incredible. It's just the wonders of nature. Oh, there you go. Now we can use the 100 millimeters. This is exactly what the 100 millimeter focal length is made for. Okay, so something else that I don't know if it's a plus or a con to you, but I like tilting screens better than fully articulating screens. However, so that's generally for photography, right? I like tilting screens, but in portrait mode, portrait oriented photos, or like vertical photos like this, and if you want to tilt it up or down, then you're just gonna have to work with whatever view you're getting, compared to if this was a fully articulating screen. I could just open this up and twist it a little bit so that the screen is right here where my hand is, and I still have a good like view of what I'm trying to take a photo of. But in general, so horizontal mode or landscape orientation, I really like this tilting screen so much better. Oh, and what do you know, it goes fully up, so if you want to take a selfie, I'm not taking this photo, but yeah, if you want to take a selfie, it's pretty good too. All right, I think that's going to be it for my first impressions on the Canon G7X Mark II. Honestly, like, this part of the woods there's still more to explore here, and I want to reserve it for a full-length video rather than just a few minutes on like first impressions. So I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna stop here, I'm not gonna walk any further. I'm gonna go back to the car. But yeah, so far, what I'm feeling about the Canon G7X, it is a more photo-centric little camera compared to the Sony ZV-1. If you're a vlogger, Sony ZV-1. If you're like me and you're a photography first person, the Canon G7X is something you should really put over the Sony ZV-1. But without any comparisons, I'm not comparing this to anything now. The Canon G7X alone is a very capable, I hope, I'm gonna go see the pictures when I get back home, but it does feel very capable. It is fast. The focal range 24 to 100, and you get a maximum aperture of f2.8 at the longest end. That is just incredible. It really is. With a 1-inch sensor, man, and it's so light, it's so grippy, it's so tactile. I'm loving this camera so far, but I'll see you on the full review.